Hello and welcome. A very hurried and slightly pointless Technophobe amateur news shed this afternoon in tribute to the Queen's speech. As very few people are listening, I don't really have time for it. We're basically just going through the motions, and anyway, nothing I say during it is ever going to be of any importance until someone's actually able to do anything about some of the content. So, this week, Brexit. Slim hope, post-tree-lined romantic walk for Johnson and Varadkar in the Wirral. Mild optimism. Swiftly followed by Masonic levels of secrecy until pessimism starts leaking out again. So, just a normal week. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn has poured cold water on the idea of a second referendum before a general election on the obvious grounds that it might actually sort the whole thing out, and that would never do. Next week, Brexit. If Brexit really did mean Brexit, there's a bloke called Sisyphus pushing a boulder up a hill who's very glad he didn't have to sort it out. Not only Boris Johnson can do classical allusions. Ad break. With Christmas approaching, you may be wondering what to buy for your friends and family. If they have young children, as I do, could I suggest one of these? An espresso machine. Keeps you going for hours. Failing that, like many of the Conservative government, try cocaine. Speaking of children, the former Chief Medical Officer, Dame Sally Davis, has suggested banning children from snacking on public transport. Surely a better way to fight obesity is just to ban public transport and make the little buggers walk. Having said that, if half the cabinet can take cocaine, I fail to see why a teenager shouldn't be allowed to have a curly-whirly on the bus. In sports news, having lost to Russia at football, Scotland were knocked out of the Rugby World Cup by Japan after saying they would take legal action if the game were cancelled. For a short time, Scotland was considering conducting all its international sporting events in court as they might have a greater chance of winning. But then, last night, they beat San Marino 6-0 and the dream lives on. And finally, the mighty Southampton FC have not lost a game in over a week, mainly because there have been no fixtures involving them. But progress is progress, and we'll take what we can. That's the sports news. And this just in. Extinction Rebellion are changing their name to Extinction Inconvenience to reflect the fact that while they may cause difficulties for your commute, that is nowhere near as inconvenient as having to conduct the whole thing underwater in 50 years' time. Thanks very much for tuning in, and goodbye from this week's Technophobe Amateur News Shed.